Good morning and welcome to today's College Football Playoff National Champions News Conference. We are joined today by University of Georgia head coach Kirby Smart, offensive player of the game Stetson Bennett, and defensive player of the game Cine. We will begin today's news conference with opening remarks from Coach Smart, and then we will open it up for questions. When you're ready.
I'd first like to thank our fan base. I think I start every post game with that, but they were just incredible. They came out and represented the university really well. I thought they impacted the game, helped us pass rush with the crowd noise. And then on to the players. You know, this is a really special group. Didn't really start sinking in for me personally until last night, seeing the families of the young men who we spent so much time in their homes. Seeing Devontae Wyatt, a kid from Towers in Atlanta, that has come so far and meant so much to this place. And just seeing all those kids, it really hit home and got pretty emotional for me. Watching those guys celebrate with their families, which is what it's really all about. And then these two guys, pretty special too. So we're honored to be here. Very appreciative of the CFP. The city of Indianapolis has done an incredible job. I had a brief pit stop in Indy where I stayed about 3 or 4 months and got cut, and I don't remember much about the place, but and didn't get to see much of it for the last 3 or 4 days other than it's cold. But they've been a great host city. They've done a tremendous job of taking care of our team and a first-class event.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open it up for questions. Again, as a reminder, give us your name and affiliation. We're going to start right up here in the middle on our right.
Johnny Conn at ABC 3340 in Birmingham. Coach, could you just speak to what this win means, not just for your team, not just for the University of Georgia, but people just from the state of Georgia that might have no affiliation to the school but have been lifelong Dog fans, and after 40-plus long years, what this means to them on an individual basis?
Yeah, I hope they don't have to wait that long again. I'll be honest with you, that's a long time. I know it's a young child moving from Alabama at the age of 7 or 6. I didn't know much about Georgia. I grew up early years in Alabama, and the years that I got to come to Georgia, those were the first memories, you know, the 80 really 1-2 teams that didn't win it, but were really special. I think, you know, some of the years we've had now, these in-state kids, the people of Georgia, embrace and love football. I mean, let's be honest. The reason the Southeastern Conference is what it is because the states that encompass the Southeastern Conference love football. And most people love their home school. That's not to say that I haven't seen a lot of Alabama tags in our state in recent years, but you love your school and you love your state. And I think we gave them a lot to be proud of. During the last couple of years have been tough with COVID and different things. I thought that our team embodied resiliency, fight, toughness, overcoming a tough loss. There were a lot of battle cries throughout the year that our guys really kind of personified for the state and for the people of the state. And that, what the Braves did, it made it a special year.
We're going to come over here in the middle to our left and take our next question.
Anthony Dasher from UGA Sports. This is a question for all three of you guys. I know there's like you just mentioned, Coach, there's a ton of reasons for being proud and excited about winning a national championship. But for each of you, what would be your biggest reason?
Lewis, let's start with you first.
Well, I'd say it's for the guys that that we grind with. It was a whole long season, starting with January throughout, and then you got the spring and summer workouts. Those times were not easy at all. So, coaches, the strength coaches, they threw a whole lot at us. We adjusted, we got stronger, we bonded together as a unit. It's mostly for the guys in the room that we fought with, that made this happen.
Stetson?
Yeah, I mean, I'll follow up with what Lou said. We all feel the weight of the state of Georgia on our shoulders. But when you look back in February, January, March, April, May, when, people are focusing on basketball or baseball, and we're running in the stadium at 6 a.m. And it sucks, and you're kind of like, why do we do this? And the reason is for when I fumble on the 10-yard line and we give up a touchdown, then we go back and we score 2 straight drives. That's the reason, The toughness, the resiliency, the connection, all that stuff, you kind of wonder why, but there's a method to the madness that, Coach Smart and all the coaches, Coach Sinclair and everybody who's spent years and years and years and, this industry and that stuff, they know how to mold young men. And, what me and Lou and everybody else, all the players in this program have went through in the past since Cincinnati has got us to this point. And, you always wonder, why are we doing this? And this is why.
Coach?
Yeah, just not to be redundant with these guys, because I think it's all about the players in the room. And I said that last night. Somebody said, just remember what you're fighting for. You're not fighting for 41 years of history. You're fighting for the man in the room. And that keeps things in perspective. But I will say this, a part of me now being able to look back at least 12, 16, however many hours since before kickoff, there's a lot of people that have been through Georgia and been through those years. And from Coach Dooley, seeing him after the game is very emotional for me to see him. And then, Coach Goff, who signed me, Coach Donnan, who coached me, Coach Richt, who I worked for and I have tremendous amount of respect for, and he got so close so many times. There's a lot of people that it means a lot to, and I for one, am happy for them. But so many of them are also happy for me.
Take our next question right here on the aisle.
Yeah, this is for all three of you. Obviously, it doesn't get any more special than winning a national championship, but how significant was it for you guys that it came against Alabama, and I guess more specifically for Kirby here, against Nick Saban? What was sort of said between the two of you guys last night?
Stetson, let's start with you.
Well, I can't speak for Coach Smart, but it does feel good. Just strictly for this season. We'll disregard the 0-3 before this season when I was there. But the fact that we were undefeated going into the SEC championship game, favored, and then they whipped us. They beat us straight up. And, we had to look in the mirror. We had to wonder why. We had to fix stuff. And then we did. And then we got to see them again, And, there's still stuff that we struggled with. But, at the end of the day, it was a team win, and we won the game. So, at the end of the day, it's the national championship. Does it matter who it's against? No, not to me, not really.
Lewis?
Of course, we're well aware it was Bama. Bama's a world-class caliber team, and I can't really talk for Coach Smart with him and Nick Saban, but we knew that Bama's always been at the top, and to be the team at the top is really something surreal. It's something that goes down in history and something that I remember forever.
And Coach?
Yeah, I think Stetson probably said the part, like the fact we got a rematch, it would have left a pretty poor taste in our mouth if we had to go through somebody else. If we'd beaten them the first time, then it wouldn't have felt as bad. And we'd had an SEC championship, which I always argue is hard to get. It's a national championship. I promise you it is, because our league is so tough. But tremendous respect for what they do. They have been, let's be honest, they have been the measuring stick. And I was a part of it for 9 years and saw it. And I know the preparation that goes into national championship games. He doesn't lose many national championship games when he has that time to prepare, and he does a really good job. So to do it and beat them, that's special. But I also, have a tremendous amount of respect for him, the way he runs his program, and really probably one of the best jobs he's ever done with his team, because they were really young at some positions, and I think they've got the best player in college football in Bryce Young, and I saw it firsthand on the field in the SEC championship. But to do what he did this year with that team, I told him after the game, I said, I really believe that this was probably the best job you've ever done. And people don't understand that. Media don't respect that because they didn't win the national championship. But the job he did with that team, incredible, incredible.
We'll go right here in the middle, third row.
Yeah, for Kirby and Chip Towers, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Kirby and any players, if you want to weigh in on this, I just wonder, it was so late getting out of there, you know, and what time you got back to the hotel, if any of you had any sleep, and can you give an idea of what the celebration was like once you were able to get out of there and get all together?
Well, the start of the celebration in the locker room was pretty incredible to be in there with those men. And you know, it really touched my heart to see the Roquan Smith, see the Nick Chubb. It ain't about them. But those guys set a really big foundation. You know, we might not have Lewis Cine here if we didn't have Roquan Smith, Nick Chubb, and he watches them play in the Rose Bowl and watches them play in Atlanta in a final. And they helped set a foundation. So that celebration in the locker room was, first of all, special. And then getting back to the hotel was wild and crazy at the hotel. And then, you know, seeing the pictures of Athens, that really moved me to see the number of people on the streets downtown. You just don't know the impact that it has. That part was special. And then, you know, I didn't get to bed till probably 3:30 or 4, and then back up early.
All right, we'll take our next question over here to our far right.
Hey, Coach, Zach Klein, WSB Channel 2 in Atlanta. This program has never won 14 games. You accomplished that. 13 of the 14 wins coming by more than 15 points. When you look back in 10, 15 years on this team, do you think it will be considered one of the greatest?
Greatest Georgia teams?
Yes.
I mean, I would argue you could say that. There's only so many that have won a national championship, certainly. I mean, what I think it'll be is a really tremendous group of leaders. These men are going to go out and do something special because they're built the right way. They've got tremendous character and integrity and a lot of respect for them. The way they did it, and you're right, there's a lot of games that maybe hurt us in the SEC championship because we didn't get to play enough fourth quarter games. I go back to watching Alabama and A&M, Alabama and Arkansas, Alabama and LSU, Alabama and Auburn, and I'm going, man, we didn't get a lot of those opportunities and didn't play our best game. But because we had played well, it gave us another opportunity. And the response of our team after that SEC championship is what will always stick with me, of seeing Julian Rochester bawling in the locker room after he was the same young man that was bawling after the national championship in 2017, and then to see him overcome so many injuries. And he wasn't a major impact on the game, but he impacted his room. He impacted Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, because they wanted it for him. And when you want it for people in the room, it makes it a lot more special.
We're going to stay right here in the front row.
Jeff Schultz of The Athletic. Kirby, you heard both players talk about, you know, what they had to go through back in February. I'm just wondering what it was like to hear that sort of as affirmation of your process, and what does it mean for the program in your view moving forward?
Well, the first question, I think one of our mentors, advisors came and gave a little, I know these guys could probably tell you, it was a very moving speech the day before the game when we have our team meeting to kind of get mentally ready. And, man, I'm not a very good history buff, but can you help me here, Stetson? I think it was Cortez the Conqueror. He used a history lesson, and he talked about the training of his army to go conquer, I guess it was Mexico. Is that right? You're supposed to be smarter than me. Now you guys. Aztec Empire. So he trained these men, and he went through all this training, and he told the story, and everybody's probably heard it, but, you know, he turned to his men, and he had to unite them. He had to unite them before they went into battle when they were up against a larger army and wanted to take over this country. And he said, hey, we're here. We've sailed over here. We came on our boats. We're burning the boats. And everybody's heard the burn the boats speech. And when they burned those boats, those guys were like, wait, there's no going back. You know, and he gave that speech that we were going to burn the boats and go do what we had to do to win this game. And I thought it was very moving because he related it to you belong here. You know, Lewis, you belong here. Where all have you been? Well, look what you've done. Look where you are, Stetson, and what you've done. He went through a lot of players. Zamir White, a guy they gave zero chance to live past 6 months. Zero chance to live past 6 months. He's playing in a national championship game. James Cook, lost his father and didn't get to play in a bowl game last year. Devontae Wyatt, the road he's taken. I mean, he went through every guy, but he did a tremendous job messaging to the players that you belong here, and he validated it by saying they had 169 workouts, 110 runs. He went through how many practices we had. He went through every step, and the players were sitting there going, ooh. And there was one workout in particular in the summer where Coach Sinclair took them at, 6 a.m.? Mm-hmm. And did a really hard lift. Coaches weren't there. Really hard lift. And they also ran to the stadium, and they had to run 15 stadiums. And they played video of that workout all week while we were in Athens. And I thought it was very touching and moving that Drew related back to that, and you're ready and you're prepared. But the validation I get from hearing those guys talk about those workouts has got to carry over to the next group, because the wind blows a lot stronger at the top, and I've seen it. I don't know that our team, our roster that's coming back, is prepared for what they're about to see, because there's a sense of entitlement. There's a sense of the disease that has always crept in at Georgia is there is a huge anointment and entitlement that can affect your program. And so now it turns for us to another attention of what we got to do to keep it going.
We're going to stay right over here in front row.
Front row, right. Kirby Ivan Mazel on 3. Congratulations. You have taken, people have looked at your career and said, how come he hasn't won a national championship yet? And yet 6 years is pretty fast in the grand scheme of things if you look at history. Do you feel like this was on time? Do you feel like it took you too long? What do you think?
Well, if you'd told me I was second 26 in overtime, I would have thought it took too long. I mean, there's a distinct advantage when you're in that position, and we weren't able to capitalize, and you can't do it. But I mean, you take Alabama out of it. I think we've had the best team in the country probably 2 or 3 times, but the best team in the country doesn't win the national championship every year. The team that plays the best does. One of our most talented teams outside of this one was probably the one that lost in the SEC championship. So there's a frustration that you deal with and say, man, did we get the most out of them? But I also know how hard it is to have the breaks and get the breaks and be able to win one of those. And it takes some really good breaks, and we got them this year, and I'm certainly happy. I don't know that there is an on time or an on schedule, because I really would not have defined my career by whether I won a national championship. Every one of you would have, but I would not have, because I would have been happy with my wife, my 3 kids, my parents, and I would have been pumped about all the kids that I got to coach. So I wasn't going to define my career by that, but I know everybody else would.
We're going to go over here on the aisle, 4th row back.
This is Lance McCurley from Lakewood County News. This is for Stetson and Lewis. Obviously, congratulations, and you guys are going to enjoy this kind of in the moment. But there's kind of the looming question of the status you guys coming back or leaving for the NFL or whatever. What is the time schedule on that decision, and how much of an impact do you think that last night will wager on your decision?
Stetson, we'll start with you.
We'll wait a second on that one for me.
Oh, well, for me, I'm just soaking this in for the moment and enjoying the time with everyone, because I know some of the older guys won't be back. And last night's game, I gave it my all for them, because I knew it would be their last. But for now, I'm just enjoying the moment with my team, enjoying the moment with the coach, and just soaking all this in. I'll let, whatever decision may be come when the time's right.
Okay. We're going to go right here to the aisle.
Mike Griffith from Dog Nation. Kirby, we know you're never complacent. You've told us that the day you're complacent, you're done. But what are some of the areas, off the top of your head and for the players, how does Kirby keep you guys sharp and motivated going into a long off season?
Or some of the areas, well, I understand what you're saying, that I would worry we get complacent at, or what are the areas that we need to improve?
Yeah, just as far as what you see leaving this team and going into next year. I mean, people are already turning the page.
Yeah, I mean, it's right now. I mean, we'll have we'll have multiple kids. Probably we'll have a few kids go into the portal that we've had discussions with that held that off. Out of respect for the team, and I thought that was tremendous. So we'll have that, and everybody will think that's a terrible thing, but in some cases it's actually a good opportunity for kids. We've got 16 or 17 mid-years that have enrolled. We got to finish off this class. We don't know how many spots we have because we don't know what some guys are doing, like Lewis and other guys. So, there's a lot of work to be done. And, I know people don't understand it, but other teams are 10 days up on you because they finished January 1st, your competitors, and you're going, wait, they're doing what? We're trying to win a national championship. Fortunately, I had a really good mentor, teacher of dealing with that because he's in it every year. But you fall behind because you're trying to manage your roster. My biggest concern in terms of complacency is the guys coming back, and we'll lose some really, really good players on defense. We got a lot of guys, coming back on offense, but we'll have to replace some good talented backs as well.
We're going to go next over here, front row, our far left.
Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports. Since you're going to wait a while or not answer that right away, what are the factors you will consider before deciding whether to come back?
I don't want to spill all of my personal stuff out here on the table, so we'll keep that between me and Coach Smart.
We're going to take our next question. Stay over here on our far left, please.
Could I ask both, Steve Hummer from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, could I ask both players, what was the best part of last night after the game was over for you guys personally? One moment you might put away in a time capsule and freeze is the moment that spoke to you the most after the game?
Lewis, let's start with you, please.
I think it's probably when the confetti came out, when everyone just ran on the field knowing, the game was over. That's kind of a picture that'll be ingrained in my head forever. It's kind of dope in my opinion. And years ahead, I can just bring my kids and my family over and be like, I was on this team. I helped, and I was a part of something great. And a lot of people already know, but last night we made history. Coach, the opportunity the chance that we got to win, and the person we did it for, Coach Smart, he sacrificed a lot for us. He sacrificed a lot for his family, and we didn't want anything more than to win it all for him.
Stetson?
My moment was, so we go down, we score touchdown, we get the ball back, we go down, we're up by 8. They get the ball back, and I'm walking the sideline, and I'm telling everybody on the offense, everybody's pumped up. We just scored, threw a touchdown to Brock. Everybody's pumped up, and I'm telling everybody, hey, listen, be ready for 2-minute drive to win a national championship. Listen, think about the numbers, think about everything that you have to do. And then Keely catches the pick, and it just hit me. And as soon as because I'm watching on the big screen, I can't see, I'm not that tall. So I'm not looking on the field. And so I'm looking on the big screen, and Keely catches the pick, and it just everything. I can't describe the feeling. I tried not to put, the, Bulldog Nation on my shoulders because I can't carry that weight. But when Keely caught that pick, and I didn't even see him score a touchdown. I just saw him catch the pick, and I was like, it just lifted off my shoulders. I just started crying. The emotion just came over me. It was probably a little bit it was a little too early because, football's crazy. But that was when it all hit me. The wave of emotion, I can't describe it. I wasn't expecting it. It caught me off guard. But that was when it set in.
We're going to go right here in the middle, second row, for our next question.
Lindsay Goff with WTOC in Savannah. Stetson, Pierce County's small, but it's close-knit. They had a Stetson Bennett Day, I think, on Friday. What has the support meant to you?
Yeah, well, I didn't even know there was a Stetson Bennett Day because I've been, I hadn't been texting people back. I hadn't been calling people. I hadn't been talking to anybody for like 2 weeks because I had a pretty big game to prepare for. But people were telling me there was videos going around Stetson Bennett Day, and I was like, what? But I guess everybody was excited for the national championship. But I love that small town. I mean, that's home. 912, Savannah, Nolan, everybody, Quay, I mean, just everybody from there. I mean, we've got so many people from 912. I mean, it's the best area code in Georgia, I mean, by far. But, especially, I mean, Blackshear, I think there's 2, and there's probably 4 red lights. But it's just every small town, just like Coach Smart. Everybody who grew up in South Georgia or a small town knows what it's like to grow up in a small town. Everybody knows everybody. You make a mistake, everybody knows about it. You're successful, everybody knows about it. You're good to people, everybody knows about it. And so when you're raised in a good family in a small town like I was, then you don't really know what the world is outside of that, but you do know once you leave there how to treat people. And I'm so proud of the place that I'm from and what it's taught me, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Let me share this quick tidbit. I tried really hard to help Stetson getting ready for the game with like defense and what's going on, and I had to ask him, could I screenshot something to him, because I wasn't sure the flip phone would get a screenshot. And he said, no, Coach, it won't come through, but you can email me. I said, well, all I can do is screenshot, so we got a problem here. I can't email like you can. And so we had to end up just talking actually on the phone or in person, because the screenshot wasn't going to work out for me.
We'll take our next question right here in the middle section, slightly towards the back.
Kirby, earlier, Lewis was talking about the sacrifices that you make with your family. You've got 3 small children. You spend a lot of time at the offices, a lot of time recruiting, etc. Does last night make it worth it? All the sacrifices that you've made.
I'll be honest with you. If things didn't go well last night, it's still worth it. It's worth it because of the relationships. I know that the title and the rings and the trophy means so much to so many at Georgia, but it's the relationships that I do it before. And when those stop happening, you lose your passion for it, and it's really, seeing these guys go on and be successful, and the joy I have of being around the players. And look, every bump we've had made that much better last night. Don't think for a second that if we had not been through what we had been through with Alabama, would it have meant that much? Probably not quite the same. So the highs and lows, the ebbs and flows of life in general, of football, are what makes it what it is. But, my wife, Mary Beth, who's in the back of the room, and my kids make tremendous sacrifice. And I understand that's a huge part of it. Sometimes I wonder, did this happen? Did I get this job too early? Because I wanted to spend so much of my time with my kids and my family and raise them and be at all my kids' sports, and because that's what my dad was. So that's what I've always wanted to do. And, I'm in the formative years, and I'm gone a lot. And that hurts me and pains me, because I want to bring them in and get them to see everything. But they're getting the age where they're going to be in high school next year, my twins, and then Andrew is 9. So, and these guys have been so good to them that I feel like they're part of our family. And if they couldn't be up there all the time and we didn't have that kind of working environment, it wouldn't be as pleasurable for me to be the coach at Georgia.
Come back down here, front row, over to our left.
Dennis Dodd again. Stetson, I just want a reaction to this. I talked to Aaron Murray the week before the game, and he said, if Stetson wins this game, he'll go down as the greatest quarterback in Georgia history. I just wonder if you had a reaction to that.
Well, all I know is in 2012, when we decided to go fastball and throw a fade, and Chris Conley caught that ball on the 3-yard line, I cried my eyes out. So, and then, the national championship was basically, ceremony after that. That was the national championship. The SEC was. Murray has 13,000 yards. 130-something touchdowns. You can't replace that. What he's done for this university, he's a nice guy. He's a great guy. He's a good friend of mine, and I appreciate that. But no, in my opinion, well, I'm not going to give who I think is the best, but
good decision. You gonna keep your friendship?
I wouldn't put myself at the top of the list, all right, and I would put Murray in front of me. So that's what I would say.
We have 3 last questions. We're going to start here in the middle, in the back.
Alan Cole, Southern Community Newspapers. Kirby, you mentioned your parents earlier, and your dad was a successful high school football coach at both ends of the state for a long time. Do you hear from him at all around games like this or championships? And then B, what does a game like this and a win like this do for you when you go talk to high school coaches and you go around the state?
First off, my dad does not say one word. He literally wants to impart zero knowledge. If it is, it's a dry quip. Like after we won the national championship at Alabama and shut whoever it was down, he shut them out, LSU, and he just said, at Bainbridge High School, if you had a shutout, the whole team got a chicken box. So he said, well, I'm gonna give you a chicken box for this one, and it's never like the advice you'd think somebody would give you. He just does not want to impart that. The part that I appreciate about him, he wants to be on the sideline because he doesn't want to hear what all the fans have to say and everybody else and all the bickering and complaining that he had to hear all his life. He's like, I just can't listen to all that. But he does not ever say anything, doesn't try to scheme or help or do anything. So I appreciate that because I get enough of that from everybody else in the world. But his relationship with me is special because he sacrificed a lot for our family, and he worked, to me, way harder than I do. Not the same kind of pressure, but he was just not home. He was always working. And there's a lot of great high school coaches in our state, and that's the reason we're on this podium today is because I'm in a very, very fertile high school area. And the relationship, I bet I got 150 texts from high school coaches last night that were so happy that we did it for Georgia, because there's a lot of pride in the state of Georgia high school football. Look, Alabama has some good players last night from the state of Georgia out there playing. We got a lot of good players from the state of Georgia. The state of Georgia is very well coached, very well run, great organization, great leaders. And as long as that stays the case, we're going to be able to feed into that and grow our program.
Right here in the very front row.
Seth Emerson at The Athletic. For each of you, first, Kirby, do you remember, just a small little detail, you talk about seeing the scenes from back in Athens. Was that you just seeing it on TV or scrolling through your phone, or did someone show it to you? And then for Lewis instead, is there a moment from when you got back to the hotel last night or this morning that kind of sticks out to you?
Mine first. It was we were actually on the bus, and Sinclair brought the bus back to the hotel, and he brought a phone over and said, "Look at Athens," and I was blown away. First thing I thought of was widespread panic in '94 or whatever it was. I was like, there's people on signs, there's people on poles. You can't see the street. I didn't even know where it was, but just pretty blown away. Hopefully everybody was safe.
What did you say?
Any moment from last night when you all got back to the hotel or this morning that sticks out?
No, I was just happy to, lay in that bed. But when I woke up this morning, I felt like I got hit by a train.
He had some big hits last night, major collisions.
But I'd say it's definitely, it's just really seeing my family after the game, seeing the people I love, celebrating with me, hugging me, kissing me, and all that stuff. So that was one big part I remember, one big part I will cherish.
I planned a post-game celebration my senior year when we were playing the state championship in baseball, and we swept through the entire the entire playoffs, and then we lost. And so I don't do that anymore at all. At all. I had several texts throughout the week about what's going to happen, and I shut that down. I mean, it didn't matter who it was. It could have been, high school buddies. It could have been, former GCs at Coke. I don't do that. I don't plan for that. I don't do anything. But when we got back to the hotel and everybody was in there, and Lewis and Jacoby and DK and Zamir and Cook, and they were all around me, and we were just sitting there, and everybody's just celebrating, having a good time. It's almost because it's hard to transition from playing a game and then getting ready to play another game. It's almost like that weight was lifted off, and that there is not another game to prepare for after this. We won it all. So that was special.
Right here in the middle, second row.
Johnny Cotton, ABC 3340 Birmingham. This is for Coach Kirby Smart. Obviously, the pain of 2nd and 26, that happened, that lives. But does winning this game last night numb some of that pain? When you see that highlight, will say, hey, we got him back a few years later?
I don't know if that pain will ever, be numb, because you put so much into those years. It passes, and you hate it for the people that were in that locker room and part of it. And but certainly, I don't know that vindication's the word, because it's not really about that when it's about Alabama. I just have so much respect for their program and the way they do things that it's great competitors. I mean, it's like, when Michael Jordan's going against the best there is, when LeBron's going against Kobe, I enjoy that moment, and I respect teams and coaches that do it the right way. And those two teams last night were Titans clashing, going at it. I mean, the physical nature of that game in the fourth quarter, so proud of our team, because there were people that doubted our conditioning level. They doubted that we could finish in the fourth quarter, and the Alabama games of the past didn't help with that. And they did that. They overcame that. They really were more physical and dominant in the fourth quarter, and that was the difference in the game, and probably what made me the most proud of the group.
Lewis, Stetson, Coach, thank you very much for your time this morning. That concludes today's College Football Playoff National Champions News Conference. We hope everyone has a wonderful day.